The game changed in an instant, and it all started with one heartbreaking mistake. Moments after a costly pass ball, Dodgers catcher Dalton Rushing reportedly opened up emotionally about the intense words he received from Shohei Ohtani, while baseball fans across America suddenly found themselves debating whether the young catcher was truly ready for the pressure of the major leagues. Ohtani entered the matchup against the Twins as both the Dodgers' starting pitcher and leadoff hitter, but by the second inning he was staring at one of the toughest moments of his season. With the bases loaded and the pressure at its highest, he unleashed a blazing 101.7-mile-per-hour fastball, the fastest pitch of his MLB career. It was a perfect display of power and confidence, yet everything changed only seconds later. Dalton Rushing failed to secure the pitch, the ball skipped away, and the passed ball allowed the tying run to score. Before anyone could recover, Minnesota followed with a go-ahead RBI hit, turning one defensive mistake into a devastating 3-run inning. The atmosphere inside the stadium became painfully quiet as pitching coach Mark Prior rushed to the mound. What fans noticed next immediately caught everyone's attention. Ohtani walked toward Rushing with a serious expression and spoke directly to him. From a distance, the moment looked intense, but it wasn't the look of a teammate assigning blame. Instead, it was the face of an ace who refuses to accept defeat and demands the highest standard from both himself and everyone around him. His focus wasn't on criticizing his catcher. His focus was on winning the game. That mindset became obvious just one inning later. Rather than letting frustration consume him, Ohtani answered with his bat. In the third inning, with 2 runners on base, he ripped a sharp RBI single into center field before eventually racing home to score the tying run himself. The Dodgers suddenly flipped the momentum, took the lead, and completely changed the direction of the game. Then came the biggest statement of all. The pitcher who had been shaken only minutes earlier looked like a completely different competitor. Ohtani overpowered Brooks Lee with a devastating fastball for a called strikeout, froze Cody Clemens with a nasty sweeper, and finished the inning by striking out another hitter with his devastating splitter. 3 consecutive strikeouts erased every trace of the previous inning as he reminded everyone why he is considered one of baseball's most dominant two-way stars. But that wasn't the only moment that revealed Ohtani's incredible confidence. Later in the second inning, a borderline sweeper to Mickey Gasper was ruled a ball. Without hesitation, Ohtani slapped his cap and immediately signaled for an ABS challenge. Dalton Rushing appeared to motion for him not to challenge, believing the call would stand. Ohtani ignored the hesitation and trusted his own instincts. Seconds later, the replay system overturned the call to a strike, proving his confidence had been justified. It wasn't luck. It was the product of complete belief in his preparation and feel for every pitch. After the game, Sportsnet Los Angeles analyst Eric Karros reflected on the moment, explaining that Ohtani had wanted to challenge similar pitches before, but previous situations had ended differently because his catcher advised against it. This time, Ohtani trusted his own judgment, and once again, his instincts proved correct. That single decision highlighted the confidence elite athletes develop through years of experience rather than emotion. From that point forward, Ohtani settled into complete control. He shut down the Twins through the 5th and 6th innings, finishing 6 strong frames while allowing only 3 runs on 3 hits and piling up 8 strikeouts. The outstanding performance lowered his ERA to an incredible 1.58 while earning him his 8th victory of the season and yet another quality start. At the plate, he added an RBI hit, helping the Dodgers escape with a hard-fought 4-3 victory, extending their winning streak to 3 games while strengthening their lead in the National League West. Looking only at the box score, it appeared to be another unforgettable chapter in Shohei Ohtani's remarkable two-way career. But the real story was only beginning. Hours after the final out, while baseball fans across the country replayed Ohtani's highlights and celebrated another incredible performance, an entirely different conversation unfolded inside the Fox Sports studio. The panel wasn't focused on his blazing fastball, his 8 strikeouts, or even his 8th win of the season. Instead, they focused on something much deeper, the mindset Ohtani displayed when everything seemed to be falling apart. Leading that discussion was Hall of Famer David Ortiz. When the host asked Ortiz how he evaluated Ohtani's performance, he didn't answer immediately. A few seconds of silence filled the studio, making it clear he wasn't about to deliver another routine game analysis. Finally, Ortiz spoke. "What impressed me today wasn't the 101-mile-per-hour fastball. It wasn't the strikeouts, and it wasn't the statistics. What I saw was a competitor who simply refused to let adversity beat him." The moment those words left his mouth, the atmosphere inside the studio completely changed. Ortiz explained that many people overlooked the most important sequence of the game, the few minutes immediately following the passed ball. Most pitchers would have allowed frustration to take over. They would have replayed the mistake in their minds and wondered why everything had gone wrong. According to Ortiz, that's exactly when games are usually lost. But Ohtani never stayed trapped in that moment. Instead of dwelling on what had already happened, he immediately shifted his focus toward winning the very next pitch. He refused to carry frustration into the following inning and instead concentrated only on taking control of the game again. Ortiz described that mentality as the defining trait of a true ace, something that cannot be measured by statistics alone. He also admitted that he paid close attention to Ohtani's expression after the passed ball. "I've watched hundreds of superstar players throughout my career. I've played in the World Series, and I know the difference between a player who crumbles under pressure and one who transforms pressure into fuel." Right after the passed ball, I saw anger in Ohtani's eyes. But it wasn't anger directed at his teammate. It was determination. His only thought was finding a way to take the game back. According to Ortiz, there were no excuses in Ohtani's expression, no panic, and no hesitation, only complete determination to respond like a champion. There was no hesitation left in Shohei Ohtani's mind. No frustration. No excuses. Only one unwavering determination, to win. And within moments, he proved exactly what that mindset looks like. In the very next inning, Ohtani answered with his bat, lining a clutch RBI single to ignite the Dodgers' comeback before racing around the bases himself to score the tying run. Just minutes later, he returned to the mound and completely flipped the game on its head, striking out 3 consecutive Twins hitters with overpowering stuff. In the blink of an eye, the momentum had completely shifted. That's what separates great players from truly elite competitors. Clutch performers aren't defined only by dramatic walk-off home runs or game-winning hits. A genuinely great player is someone who can change the emotional energy of an entire team when everything seems to be falling apart. They inspire confidence when doubt begins to spread. They remind every teammate that the game is far from over. Most players react to mistakes by trying to make up for them. Ohtani does something entirely different. He doesn't simply erase an error, he takes control of the entire game again. That's why he stands apart from nearly everyone else in baseball. Leadership isn't about shouting in the dugout or delivering emotional speeches. Real leadership begins with making a silent promise to yourself that you will not lose, regardless of the circumstances, and then backing up that promise with your performance. On this night, Ohtani demonstrated exactly what that looks like in front of millions of baseball fans around the world. The Fox Sports studio once again fell silent. David Ortiz, a player who had battled through multiple World Series and experienced some of the greatest pressure imaginable, understood better than almost anyone what mental toughness looks like. He recognized something in Ohtani that statistics could never fully explain. After a brief pause, Ortiz delivered one final message that immediately captured everyone's attention. "There are plenty of talented players in this league," he said. "Talent alone isn't what makes someone truly great. The greatest players are the ones whose eyes change when the pressure gets highest. They don't run from adversity. They believe they're the ones who will stop the momentum and turn everything around." He continued, "A true champion isn't someone who shines only when everything is going perfectly. A true champion is the player who stands back up when everyone else is falling apart and carries his team forward." Those words perfectly summarized Ohtani's performance. This victory wasn't simply about earning his 8th win of the season. It wasn't just about throwing a career-best 101.7 mile-per-hour fastball. It wasn't even about recording 8 strikeouts. The most impressive part of the night was how he personally stopped the game's worst momentum, regained complete control, and refused to let one mistake define the outcome. That's why Ortiz reached such a powerful conclusion. "I'll say it as many times as I need to," he declared. "Shohei Ohtani is the best player in the world." Once again, the studio became completely silent. Even viewers watching from home could understand why the conversation had shifted away from statistics and toward Ohtani's extraordinary mentality. But the debate didn't end there. Later that same evening, ESPN approached the game from an entirely different perspective. Their analysts weren't focused on Ohtani's strikeouts or his clutch RBI. Instead, they replayed one moment over and over again on the giant studio screen, The pass ball in the second inning with the bases loaded that completely changed the course of the game. When the replay stopped, Hall of Famer Alex Rodriguez slowly folded his arms, shook his head, and began speaking. "I don't think this was just an ordinary passed ball," Rodriguez said. "Some fans may look at the box score and think it was only one mistake. But baseball doesn't work that way. One missed catch can affect far more than a single run. It can completely disrupt a pitcher's rhythm, create uncertainty throughout the defense, and hand momentum directly to the opposing team." According to Rodriguez, that's exactly what happened in this game. That single play eventually snowballed into 3 runs allowed, making it the biggest turning point of the entire night. Then Rodriguez paused the replay once more and directed everyone's attention toward the interaction between Ohtani and Dalton Rushing. "My biggest concern isn't actually the passed ball," he explained. "It's something much deeper." He continued, "I felt this for a while now. Right now, these two don't seem completely in sync. A catcher's job isn't simply receiving pitches. His responsibility is understanding exactly what his pitcher is thinking, what he's trying to accomplish, how he wants to attack hitters, and the rhythm he's trying to establish throughout the game. That's the foundation of trust." Rodriguez admitted that he wasn't seeing that connection develop consistently between Ohtani and the rookie catcher. He then pointed to another critical sequence involving the ABS challenge system. "Even in the first inning," Rodriguez said, "Ohtani clearly appeared to want an ABS challenge, but it never happened. Watching the replay, the pitch looked like a strike, yet the original call stood." He continued, "Then almost the exact same situation happened again in the second inning. Once more, Ohtani looked confident that the pitch had caught the zone. Again, Rushing initially hesitated. But this time, the challenge was finally made, and the call was overturned to a strike." That sequence, according to Rodriguez, raised a much larger question than a single defensive mistake. It highlighted whether the communication and trust between pitcher and catcher were fully developing under the pressure of major league competition. The successful ABS challenge only reinforced what many had already suspected. Shohei Ohtani's instincts had been correct from the very beginning. Alex Rodriguez didn't hold back. "This isn't just a coincidence," he said. "We've seen similar situations before, including Ohtani's previous start. When a pitcher repeatedly trusts his own read of the strike zone, but his catcher doesn't, that's a warning sign. A championship battery can't function that way." Rodriguez explained that the catcher is far more than someone who simply receives pitches. A catcher is the field general. He has to remain calmer than everyone else on the field. He must understand the game one step ahead of the pitcher, anticipate situations, and make decisions that build trust. If those decisions continue to clash with the pitcher's instincts, then you're looking at a much bigger issue than one missed pitch. He then shifted the discussion back to the passed ball itself. "I'm not prepared to say whether that play was caused by crossed-up signs or simply a catching mistake," Rodriguez admitted. "But what stood out to me was that they didn't appear to be completely on the same page. They didn't look like two players sharing the exact same picture of what was about to happen." According to Rodriguez, that was the most concerning part. He reminded viewers that similar communication issues had surfaced before. "We've seen situations like this before," he continued. "At some point, you can't keep saying a player is young and still learning. Development is important, but repeated mistakes eventually become patterns that have to be addressed." The studio grew noticeably quieter. Then Rodriguez delivered the strongest statement of the night. "I don't want to see any young player fail," he said. "In fact, I want Dalton Rushing to become a great major league catcher. But this isn't a developmental league. This is a Dodgers team trying to win the World Series." He paused before continuing. "Every decision matters. Every pitch matters. Every defensive mistake can influence an entire season. If a player isn't ready to handle that responsibility yet, then the organization has to be honest about where he is in his development." Rodriguez then offered what many considered his toughest opinion. "If these problems continue, I wouldn't hesitate to send him back to AAA. Let him rebuild his confidence, refine his fundamentals, strengthen his communication with his pitchers, and then come back fully prepared." He made it clear that he wasn't describing the move as punishment. That wouldn't be a setback. It would be an investment in his future, and it would also give the Dodgers the best chance to compete for a championship. His comments immediately sparked debate across the baseball world. Instead of celebrating Ohtani's 8th victory of the season, fans suddenly found themselves asking a completely different question. Should the Dodgers continue relying on Dalton Rushing as their primary catcher? What began as post-game analysis quickly evolved into one of the biggest storylines surrounding the organization, with opinions spreading across television, social media, and sports radio throughout the country. Yet while those debates were dominating headlines, a completely different scene was unfolding inside the Dodgers clubhouse. After the game, the player surrounded by the largest crowd of reporters wasn't the winning pitcher, Shohei Ohtani. It was rookie catcher Dalton Rushing. The young catcher quietly stepped in front of the microphones, knowing exactly what everyone wanted to ask. The first question came almost immediately. When you look back at the passed ball in the second inning, what goes through your mind? Rushing lowered his eyes for a moment, took a deep breath, and answered with complete honesty. To be completely honest, that was my mistake. He continued. Handling a pitch traveling over 101 miles per hour is never easy, but that's not an excuse. As a major league catcher, my responsibility is to keep that ball in front of me, and I didn't do my job. He then shifted the focus to Ohtani. Shohei executed exactly the pitch we wanted. He made a perfect throw. I was the one who failed to finish the play. Rushing admitted that the moment the ball skipped past his glove, he immediately realized the damage it had caused. I knew right away that I had put our team in a difficult position. I felt terrible, not only for Shohei, but for every single teammate in that clubhouse. The reporters then asked the question everyone had been waiting for. What did Shohei Ohtani say to you after the play? Rushing's expression immediately changed. Honestly, he replied, that's a moment I'll probably never forget. When the ball got past me, I wasn't thinking about the error itself. The first thing that hit me was that I had let Shohei down. He paused before continuing. When I looked up and saw him walking toward me, I'll admit it, I was nervous. He looked incredibly serious. But Rushing quickly clarified what happened next. He wasn't yelling. He wasn't losing control of his emotions. What I saw in his eyes wasn't anger. It was disappointment mixed with an incredible determination to win. According to Rushing, that look alone carried a powerful message. I understood immediately that this was a mistake I couldn't allow myself to repeat. Then he revealed exactly what Ohtani told him. He came over to me and simply said, "Don't let it happen again. Forget it. Focus on the very next pitch." The words were short, but they carried enormous weight. He never blamed me, Rushing explained. He never embarrassed me in front of anyone. Yet those few words made me realize just how much confidence he had placed in me. I honestly felt awful in that moment.